Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can access the deep web safely and anonymously in 2018. So if you want to learn more about the deep web, what it is and how it works, I'm going to make another video about that, so please subscribe. But at the moment, let's get on with it. So to start off with, you're going to need to get a VPN. Now, what a VPN will do is it will make it a lot harder for people to track you or get hold of your IP address. So how they work is they'll take the data from your device, then they'll encrypt it immediately, even before your internet service provider sees it. They'll then send it straight to their VPN server, then back to your online destination. This means that if anyone does see you, see what you're doing, they'll see the data as coming straight from the VPN server and straight from their IP, and they won't have any of your details and have any idea what your location is. You can be tracked if you're using a VPN. It's just a great extra layer of security that you can put in. So some of the good ones that I'd recommend are PureVPN and NordVPN. These are both paid, but as you can see, they're relatively cheap. You see this one just costs $3.99 a month. I think you have to buy a year in advance to get it that cheap, but you can get a month alone for about $7.99. It is better to get a paid one, obviously, because some of the free ones, they're super oversubscribed, and that means they run super slow, and also they have lots of adverts there, so they can make money somehow. But if you really do want to use a free one, I can tell you about BetterNet. Now, I'm going to be using this just for this tutorial. Obviously, it's not as good as the other two, but for a free VPN, it's quite good and relatively fast in comparison with some of the other free ones out there. Okay, so once you've got your VPN all set up, you're now going to have to set up a virtual machine. Now, one of the best ways to do this is with VirtualBox. So to get started, just go to virtualbox.org or click on the link in the description. So a virtual machine will allow you to run another operating system on top of the one currently installed on your computer or whatever device you're using. So one of the reasons to do this is because people using Windows or a Mac operating system are a lot more vulnerable to malicious scripts or viruses, and that's because the people making these scripts are going to target them towards the operating systems that are used by the most people. So especially Windows operating systems are the most vulnerable. So I'm running Windows, so I'm just going to click on Windows hosts here, and that will start downloading VirtualBox. Oh, already got a download open here. Oh wait, pause this one. Okay, and I'll come back in a second once it's finished installing. Okay, so now it's installed, I'm just going to open it up. Okay, and it will open the installer, so just press next, next. I normally keep all of these ticked, next again, and yes, and then just install the program. And this will probably take, and allow changes to the device. Don't worry, this is perfectly safe. So it'll probably take a few minutes to install, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now it's finished installing. Just finish it and it will start up. Okay, so as you can see, everything's working, it's perfectly installed. And now we've got a new, now we've got to find a new operating system to install. Okay, so the operating system that we're going to be installing is called Tails. Now, Tails is based off Linux, and it was designed specifically for browsing the deep web, and it's a lot less vulnerable than a Windows or Mac OS operating system. So it's 1.2 gigabytes big, so I've downloaded it beforehand, but all you want to do is go to the link in the description to the site and go for the direct download. So just click here and then save it in a folder that you know you're going to remember, because we're going to use it in a second when we set up the virtual machine. Okay, so once that's installed, you want to head back over to VirtualBox, and then you want to click New, and then here you're installing your new operating system on the virtual machine. So I'll just name it Tails, and you want to change the type to Linux, and then version Ubuntu 64-bit or 32-bit, depending on which processor type you have on your computer. So I have a 64-bit processor. I'll then press Next, and here we can assign the amount of memory that we want to the virtual machine. So to run Tails, you need a minimum of 2 gigabytes, so that's 2048 megabytes. And then we'll press Next, and then we're going to create a virtual hard disk, recommended size 10 gigabytes. You only need about 2 to run Tails, but it's perfectly fine, just press Create. And then the hard disk file type, VDI, that will be pre-selected, then just press Next again, and Next. Okay, and then finally just finish off, press Create, and it will have created your virtual machine. So now to run it, just press Start, Okay, it will take a while to load. Okay, and then it's going to ask you for the file that you wish to boot up the system with. So go back to your folder and find the Tails which you've just downloaded, and then open it up and then start the virtual machine. Now this will take quite a while to go through. Obviously it's only got 2 gigabytes of memory and we're running it in a virtual machine. So I'll come back in a second once it's all finished. Okay, so now the virtual machine is finally booted up and we're met with the standard setup instructions that are found on every operating system. So here we can just change the language and region and obviously the keyboard format. Everything seems fine, so I'm just going to press start talks, Tails. Okay, and then it's going to take a while to start up because it's running quite slowly, and I'll be back in a second once that's done. Right, so now the virtual machine is finally booted up and is fully ready to go. So you want to head over to applications, and as you can see the Tor browser is pre-installed, so that's why we didn't have to do this earlier. So just click on that and boot it up, and then we'll go into the security settings and we'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, so now the Tor browser is open. My computer was running really slow, so it took a while, but it's finally open. So I'll just drag it into the center of the screen so you can see a bit better. Okay, now there's only a few things left to do. So first of all, you want to change your security settings. Now to do that, go to the top left-hand corner of the screen and click on this onion symbol. Then go down to security settings, and here you can see you can change the security level from standard all the way up to safest. I normally have it on safer, as safest it disables quite a lot of the JavaScript and HTML used on lots of the pages, which is obviously great because it can stop a lot of potential like malicious viruses. But running it safer, as long as you're not doing anything, well, I don't know what you'll be doing, but as long as you think you're not going to be in any real harm, I'd just run it at safer, and you should be fine. You're running a VPN in a virtual machine, you should be fine. So just press OK. And now one more thing to point out is that you should never maximize your window size in the Tor browser. So if I show you, I'll maximize the window, and a warning will pop up and it will say maximizing Tor browser can allow websites to determine your monitor size, which can be used to track you. We recommend that you leave Tor browser windows in their original default state. Okay, so that's why you should never maximize the window size. So from here, you should be able to browse the Tor, use the Tor browser relatively safely.